Hey everybody, I'm Zach. I'm here with my co-host Aaron.
Hey, what's going on?
You are listening to A to Z Podcast, episode 70.
Today's guest is Chris Garza, co-founder of Wrong Side of Texas Records and host of The Local Scene on KVLU.
It's like they're trying to be too meta.
We're gonna make them an offer they can't refuse.
Much better.
Yeah. You can buy you a drink. You can just
Well, I mean, he did pick out somebody we know.
Well, you sidestepped the question. That technology does not exist.
If this is your first time listening, thanks for checking us out. A to Z is a Southeast Texas local podcast with new episodes out weekly on all major podcast platforms.
Show notes can be found on atozpodcast.com, but you can also feel free to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, where we post updates, clips, and a host of extra content.
And don't forget A to Z Podcast Group and A to Z Movie Night, the grouping. Those are our Facebook groups where we post memes and all the extra stuff, and we start conversations and we find guests.
But we try to.
And we send some love, and we ask for favors, and we have contests, and, we just want to get
All
closer.
right,
We just
so,
want to get closer to you.
this week's episode is Chris Garza.
Yeah.
Like we said in the intro, he is the co-founder of the Wrong Side of Texas Records, which they do a bunch of stuff. They we talk about the Rise Above album that they released, which was a compilation of a lot of local bands around here that fundraise for Harvey. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's done work with Bearlands and
Cody Schaefer, Ramblin' Boys, I want to say.
I think so, Ramblin' Boys, yeah.
But we talked about, what was the reason for starting Wrong Side of Texas Records, and then also how he managed to become host of The Local Scene, which was started by the enigmatic Beth Rankin way back in the day. Thank you for starting that.
And he took it over, yeah.
Yeah. So
we get a few things. We also talk about the scene, how it used to be, where we are now, maybe like some speculative things about why we're in sort of, as we say in the episode, like a lull.
Yeah.
And maybe how we could get out of it. And it's just a good time.
Yeah, and if, as always, if we want to hear from you, feedback at azpodcast.com is our email. You can leave some reviews and comments on any of our social media sites. We're actually kind of coming up with some kind of promotional thing for that. But anyways, enjoy this episode with Chris Garza.
How it feels to be picked apart. Piece by piece.
The first time I went and did yoga, I went with an ex of mine, and it got to the part where it's where you just lay on your back and just meditate for 5 minutes, and it was like 8 a.m. we went, and I'm not a morning person, and it got to that point, and it's just me and my girlfriend and a bunch of middle-aged ladies, and I'm laying there. And I'm starting to fall asleep. And it's like whenever you fall into that, you're barely asleep, but you're awake too. And it's quiet. Everybody's doing their meditation thing. And I'm falling asleep and I go, ah! And everybody else is really polite. But you can hear my girlfriend just trying not to laugh so hard because. And then I started laughing and it was the most embarrassing thing. I think it's funny now, but
one of those moments
quiet room and just
your brain has to gather its thoughts in an instant. It goes, oh wait, I slipped away from reality. Where am I? Yoga studio on the floor.
Yeah. I have a similar story kind of to that. What my brother and I, we shared a room in high school and stuff. And I remember we had these bunk beds. And so I was up on the top bunk. And I was same kind of thing. I was kind of falling asleep, but kind of awake. Yeah. And so I was kind of dreaming, and in my dream I laughed, and but I laughed out loud, and the laugh sounded like I said ha ha, that's what I did, out loud, and it woke me up, and then I hear from the bottom, my brother goes, dude, what the fuck was that? Because it was so quiet, and all of a sudden you just hear yeah, it's just crazy.
I do that too often. Well,
let's just jump right into it.
Hey guys, Chris, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Ooh, look at that mic etiquette. That's superior.
Yeah,
we love it.
On mic.
Well, Christopher, this is Christopher Garza. He is ahead of Wrong Side Records.
Yeah,
Wrong Side of Texas Records.
Are you
one half of
one half?
Yeah,
but one half of the founding members.
Yeah,
yeah, man. I've known you for a bit. I met you. Here and there, you used to ride your bicycle to the food truck a couple times, and
sure
yeah,
did.
that's where it was. But I've also seen you at a lot of shows. obviously you guys record a lot of local talent and stuff like that. Your Bearlands album, that double album, man, that thing was
Oh man,
that was a piece of art. I
we
loved it.
we loved that album. Of course, huge fans of Bearlands, huge fans of Cody, of course, and then of course Randy taking the cover. I love that
the
idea.
cover with the where
cover
he's
was
sitting on the
amazing,
other
yeah.
booth.
Yeah. So like I still have a project to mount. So I had Cody sign his side and Bearland sign their side, and my plan is to like mount it to where you can see
both
it,
of 'em.
and then like the records are coming out.
Yeah.
So it'll be like a long
sure.
rectangle.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can see the records with the center labels on both sides,
That'd be great.
but then the cover. Yeah. So
It'd be a nice piece.
it's awesome.
What was the impetus behind founding Wrong Side of Texas? Like,
Yeah,
what's the
so-
story?
All right, so the funny story is, so Jason and I, so Jason Stoll, he's the other half, who couldn't be with us tonight. He actually lives in the Woodlands now.
Oh.
So he and I are both in Petrochem, so he's over in the Woodlands now. But we used to work at the same company out in Port Arthur. And one day we had a meeting with like our plant manager and stuff like that, and I came in late, and I had a Dunder Mifflin shirt on, so it was like the red and it said Scranton, from like their the picnic episode, and it said Dunder Mifflin on the back, and that really kind of started this conversation. So after the meeting, Jason pulls me aside and he's like, "Man, you can't come in late to a meeting with a plant manager in a shirt like that and expect me not to like laugh." He goes like, "You almost like got me in trouble." And so anyway, we just started talking in the hallway, and he was like, "So you love The Office?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so we just started talking about like, okay, what shows do you watch? And I had only worked with him for maybe a year and a half at the time.
Yeah.
And he was like, what shows do you like? And I was like, I said, my wife and I are big Bang Theory, fans. And I said, one, because we know a lot of engineers, and two, I still read comics and things like that. And he was like, you do? He was like, I still collect comics. And he had a box over here at
Bookstand.
yeah. And so he had a box there, and he had a box at All Star out in Mid County.
What do you mean a box? Like you can?
Like a subscription box.
Yeah. You basically tell them like what comics you read, and then as they come out, they'll put them in your box,
And you
then
can go and
you go and pick them up. That way, you don't have to like get there before they sell out.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I had a box at Bookstand for a long time.
I did too.
And
years.
so we got to talking about that, and he's like, "Well, what else do you?" And I said, "Oh man, I collect vinyl. Been listening to vinyl since I was a kid. My dad turned me on to that." And he was like, "Man," he was like, "I collect vinyl too." He's like, "We need to get together, talk about comics, talk about records, have a beer, whatever." And that was really it. We just started there, and then sure enough, like ended up living around the corner from me at the time. I didn't know that, and so I went to his house one weekend and just hung out, and then about a week or two later, he caught me in the hall, and he was like, "Dude, let's start a record label." Like out of nowhere, it was just like a random. I was like,
I don't know how that evolved from comics and The Office.
So for those couple of weeks we were visiting, we were talking about music. We were talking about and he's from New Orleans area, so he's originally from Shreveport, but lived in New Orleans for a long time. And What Style, who did the artwork for Rise Above and a couple of other things for us, and the shirts. He's a prolific artist over there. He's got a book out that you can check him out. Steve What Style Williams, 504 What Style. But anyway, and so just being like close to music, being involved with music. He's not a musician. I'm not a good musician.
Yes.
So we were like, hey, let's just do something kind of related to music. And that was just kind of like where it came from. And then we just started bouncing around, and he came up with a name too. And he was like, the Put Downs had this awesome songs, this record. He was like, and I've always thought it'd be a cool name for a band. He was like, or for a record label. And he's like, plus, like growing up in this area, you always saw like Beaumont, the right side of Texas, but yet everybody in the music busined leaves to go to Austin. So quite literally, we are the wrong side of Texas over here. So it was kind of a multi themed reason why we came up with that name. But that's really where the record label started. And we both talked about how many great bands that are from this area that need to be out there.
For sure.
So we were like, let's just do that. Let's put great bands out on the best medium, in our opinion. Let's go from there.
Well, that's one of the reasons why a lot of these really talented bands leave. I mean, there wasn't really a support system. There wasn't really a...
I know.
Well, I mean, there is now. There is a few places where you can cut a record, but...
And we're trying hard to, get more and more music out there. Of course, we're like I like to say we're like the Bourbon County Stout of the record companies, because we put out like one release a year. So we're trying to do better. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, there's just... I know we were talking about this earlier before we got started, but there's so many phenomenal musicians in this area and have been for quite some time. And so many people don't know about them. So the record label, and then of course that kind of parlayed into taking over the local scene from Beth. And just like that's been kind of like almost my life's mission, I guess you could say, is get good music out there. And
So,
Jason's the same way.
I mean, did you have any idea that you would be doing these kind of things before you met Jason?
No,
No,
nah, for
you
sure.
were just working in Petrochem.
Yeah,
and that's
I was
it.
just I was just working in Petrochem and buying records and going to shows. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up with Hooker. Jake and I are really good friends, and I got serious love for that dude. He's an awesome guy.
Yeah, episode 1 for us, man.
I know.
He was our
That's
guy.
a long episode too.
Yeah,
Like 2.5
it
hours.
was a really long one. Yeah, it was also on a couple of the movie nights too.
Yep,
so,
yep.
Yeah.
But no, he's awesome, and you know, I knew, like I've said this before on the local scene, that I knew early on, because I've known him since I was like 13 or so, and we used to spend the night or whatever, and we'd hang out playing guitars, whatever, and I knew right away that like he was way better than me.
Oh yeah,
Like he was just way better.
Yeah.
But and then all these bands he was in, and it just kind of went from there. It's like, it's too many good bands to not be heard.
Right.
yeah.
So we're just trying.
Yeah. And so the most recent release you'll have right now, and it came out, you said November last year?
Yeah,
And it's
finally.
Rise Above. Like, what's the story behind this? It obviously is, the cover art denotes that there's some kind of flooding
That's
that
right.
might have happened.
Yeah, that's right. So like I said,
Disaster maybe.
yeah. So Jason, like I said, he lived over in New Orleans during the Katrina, and of course I'm a lifelong resident of Beaumont, born here and stuff, born and bred, as they say, or born and reared, as they say. But they so been through my fair share of hurricanes too, and so then when Harvey hit, he was already in Houston, and we kind of both lived through those. Luckily, we were pretty unscathed, minimal stuff, but so many people weren't.
Oh yeah.
And so we thought, man, how cool would it be to, because a year from now, because we had the idea shortly after Harvey hit, and we were like, man, a year from now, people are going to be on to the next natural disaster, and the next, as things go, 24-hour news
Yeah, they'll
cycle
forget,
things.
yeah.
And so we're like, man, people are, because like even when Harvey hit, there were still people with like blue roofs from Ike.
There's still
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
Still
yeah,
Blue Roofs, yeah.
Yeah, so we were like, let's try and do something that's kind of cool. We were trying to think of, hey, what's our next project? So, we had done, Mad Mod, and we were like, man, we got to do something new. And he just was like, let's just do a benefit album and donate all the money. We're like, man, that's awesome. Yeah, let's do it. And so that's really where the idea came from.
Yeah.
And then we just started contacting bands that we really liked, and that process was like herding cats, but we found,
You're telling me that artists aren't organized?
oh my
people?
God.
Is that what you're telling me? They're not. They don't.
That's
yeah.
why it takes a year. Like, I'll have to think seriously about doing a compilation again. And there's another record idea that I've always had, is to have local bands do versions of other local band songs.
Oh.
I'd love to do a
I mean,
compilation like that.
Kind of like how the Ramblin' Boys always do Lost at Sea.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd love for them to come in and do like, they could do Lost at
Yeah.
Sea on a record, and then they like have the Wolves come in and do like, a hitchhiker song or something. I don't know, like whatever, just
Sure.
like something, and they do each other's songs. I always thought that would be kind of cool. And but man, trying to get 11 bands, one, put together, and then two, getting all the music, then you got to get all the releases and all that
Yeah.
other stuff, and that was one thing. And then once it finally got together, and then it's like trying to book a show with all those bands was a nightmare.
Did y'all manage that?
So I called up Olivia Buscemi, and I was like, hey, you do what
Help.
you do, booking a show, and we'll take care of the rest. And so that's kind of the way we did the release for that one. And she kind of worked with the bands and coordinated with them. I mean, I've leaned on her quite a few times for like release night shows or local scene, music and stuff like that. And she's been awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she booked the show, and then we just showed up and sold merch, basically. That's kind of the way it worked.
For sure.
We're
Yeah.
like, let the bands book the show like they would normally do, so however that money works out, and then we'll just sell the record.
Yeah.
Right.
What does a label do? Like, what is because I mean, y'all don't have a recording studio.
We don't. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, but-
Maybe one day.
Is it more like just like y'all are like kind of the y'all kind of bring it all together?
Yeah, we're kind of like a distribution, basically.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing too, is that we love the music and we love the artists that we work with, but we don't ever want to like own the artist. Like the fact that like Prince never owned his catalog. How does that work? He created that stuff. That's
Yeah.
his music. He wrote that. So we never wanted to be like that. So kind of our business model, if you will, is we take music that the bands have already recorded. We put it out. We cover the cost to press the record. We cover the cost of distribution. I built the website. He and I both travel a lot for work, so we bring mounds of records with us, and we drop them off at local record stores and things like that. So we handle all of that, and then the band will give a small percentage of copies of the record right off the bat, as a way to say, hey, thanks, appreciate it. And then, of course, if they come back and want more, then we will sell them back to the band, but we sell them at like cost usually. So we're really trying to get the music out there, but we don't ever like own it. So we're not going to own the rights to the music. We're not going to own the,
You just own like the physical copy of the
we
album.
just own the physical copy. And so that's just been our model. I can guarantee you it's not a way to make money, but we're not in it necessarily to make money. So we both have pretty good jobs, and we're really worried about. We're really more concerned about getting the music out there. So that's kind of the way we do it. So it'd be kind of cool to have a studio at some point. That'd be
it's a pain in the ass. Don't do it.
I know. So I built a little home studio for the local scene now, because it's hard to get over to the radio station and actually do the show. So I have a little station or a little studio.
They'll let
at
you just
home
send them a copy.
So I usually just record it at home. I produce it on Audition, and then I Dropbox it to them.
That's great. That makes it a lot easier.
Because so then when the wife and kid goes to bed, and go in there and record a show, or on a Sunday morning, wake up early, grab a cup of coffee, and go record a show or whatever. So. That's a way to do it. So I've looked into that too. Maybe expand the studio a little bit.
So how long have you been doing a local scene since? Has it been since Beth left?
Yeah, not long after she left.
Okay, so that's a while.
So again, I kind of parlayed that. I saw her post that hey, I'm leaving, going to Dallas, and I had befriended her, through process of this, and seen her out at shows and things like that. And I will say, we were talking a while ago about the music scene, how awesome it was and has kind of died off, and I really contribute a lot of that success to Beth. I mean, she had a lot of her critics too, but I really,
I think she was monumental in starting up Cat 5, and Cat 5 was really important, I think.
I think it was huge.
Yeah, it showed off a lot of the things that were going on in the area, got people excited. It's not that anymore, I don't think.
Exactly. And when I say she had her, like, people talked about, Cat 5 is positive about everything, they love everything, but then again, like, I think she was monumental for the music scene in this area, in the way she got Cat 5 going, and the way she really promoted shows. Like, she loved going to shows, and she loved music, and so and it really kind of showed in her stories and things like that. And so I thought that was really big. And so when she posted that she was leaving, I just sent her a Facebook message, and I was like, hey, would you want a local record executive to take over the show? And in quotes, of course. And she was like, yeah, I don't know. I'll check out, I'll talk with Byron, who's a station manager, and our general manager over there, and see what he wants and wants to do. And so she did. And he was like, yeah, have him come in, record a pilot, and just kind of see how it goes. So that's exactly what I did. I went in there one day, and I watched her produce her last episode of the local scene. And then she helped me record my episode. Played it for them, and the guys up at KVLU, and they loved it, and they were like, yeah, let's do it.
You got it.
So I was like, awesome. And then that so this Saturday will be the 99th episode. So I'm about to come up on my 100th episode. So I'm pretty.
That's a milestone.
Milestone,
right?
That's a milestone.
I think it's like syndication milestone, right? Can't you get syndicated after?
I
don't know if they can syndicate
How do you syndicate
NPR
a free
shows?
show?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But that's one of the most important things about doing anything like that is just consistency.
Yeah.
Keeping it going. You hit 100, then I know you're going to hit 200.
Man, I hope so. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And kind of the thing behind, again, so, consistent with the record label, the local scene, obviously the premise that she started, which is beautiful in my opinion, featuring local artists. So yet another way to get local music out to people. And I understand it's an NPR station and you have a certain audience that listens to those stations, but it's a great start. Yeah. And you can recruit more and more people. And so it's been really awesome to kind of take that show and kind of do my own thing with it, but kind of stay true to that local scene.
Yeah, the format.
Yeah, and just get people, because, God, there's so many great bands here. and they just need to be heard. And so it's really cool to be able to play them.
Yeah.
For the
It's
people.
really weird that like in the day and age that we're in, with how music is normally consumed, that like it's still considered a really cool thing to hear your music on the radio.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though none of it, I don't listen to the damn radio. I mean, I
Right.
might put on KVLU or something like that
Yeah.
every now and then and listen to some classical music, but like, there is still something about like turning that dial and hearing local bands and like a regional thing
For sure.
on your radio.
Yeah, it's
you know?
really cool, and that's why I love to do it, and I love to, like, when I do play on the show, then I kind of like message the band, on Facebook, and be like, hey, just so you know, your song's going to be on the radio this Saturday or whatever.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Do you get a good response from that? Usually?
Sometimes I do,
Usually?
yeah. A lot of people are just kind of like, sometimes they'll just like a post,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But
It's like it's so
sometimes-
easy. It's so share it, it,
Exactly.
please.
Or I mean, just say, "Hey, appreciate you, man. That's cool."
Yeah. I will say, so the only time I've ever had a negative reaction was a band, and I'll leave them unnamed, but it was a local band. It's probably one of my early episodes, like 20 or so, something like that. And I played a song from this band, and I tagged
I was
them.
about to say, just tell us and we'll bleep it.
Well, I played a song from this band, and I tagged them in the post afterwards saying, hey, your song's...
Yeah.
Well, they sent me a message and said, hey, just so you know that we don't really play that type of music anymore, and we've kind of changed our sound, and we'd really appreciate it if you don't play any songs from that era for us anymore. And I was like...
So are you really looking this gift horse in the mouth right now?
I know, I was like, I literally unsolicited... Like,
yeah.
I played a track of yours on
sure.
the radio
Yeah.
without you asking me, and then you just like said, hey, don't do that anymore. So I haven't played their songs ever.
That's one
since
thing.
then.
That's one thing.
So anybody listening that's a musician, don't do that because
It was just weird.
Yeah.
Like, there was another way to approach it, right?
Right.
You know?
there is this weird thing that comes from like, and I've seen it, being involved in local music. But there's something about some of these smaller bands, to where they're so. It's like the art is super important to them, and it's like it's kind of maybe an ego thing, and it's like they don't. It's that whole like no monetization, and like it's like removing the magic of it by making it something that like a product, because that should be what it is. If you're really trying to get your music out there, then you want it to be out there in any form you want, but then it's like, no, that's just not.
Yeah, let people
accurate
accept
to-
it for what they want to accept
Sure.
it as.
Yeah.
That's kind of the beauty of music, right? You play it for what you want it to be, but then people receive it the way they want to receive it.
Right.
That's kind of the way it works.
It's like you can't put something out there and expect it to stay exactly how it was whenever you made it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, well, even when you put like a track out there, that's influenced by your mindset at the time and also what's going on around here. And then everyone that listens to it, they interpret it based on their mindset. You listen to it 5 years later, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not even going to have the same sort of like relevance. It's not going to have any of that attached to it. So just
Everybody has
don't worry about
the
it.
memory
Yeah.
that's tied to that song, and
Right.
it influences the way that they receive it.
For sure.
That's the beauty of music. It's just it's different for everybody. It may be the same song, but it's different for everybody. It's
Absolutely.
kind of cool like that.
So it's as somebody as a guy who does the local scene and also Wrong Side and everything. Who's some of your favorite bands out there right now?
Man. So obviously, the Wolves were like the number one. Of course, being friends with Jake, I really, but I love the Wolves.
Yeah.
And of course the Ramblin' Boys, and I almost hate to name names because I don't want to leave anybody off, but like the Ramblin' Boys, I love Careers. Purple was a fantastic band.
Yeah.
Then you had like Cousin Phelpy, Mad Mod and the Hatters. I
Yeah.
mean, just
Jenny and the
some-
Reincarnation.
Oh my
too,
God, yeah. I mean, and that's another one. Like Jenny, she's been Jenny Reincarnation, The Reputations, Warm Sugar, like all
Mad
these
Mod,
Mad
yeah.
Mod, all these phenomenal
And all
artists.
of them different styles too. All of them
Exactly.
different genres.
I
of
really
music,
miss hearing
yeah.
her sing.
Oh my
me
God,
too.
she's got her like
Powerhouse, man.
and Ashlyn, I mean,
Yeah.
and Adrian, they all have like beautiful voices in their own different styles. Like the stuff that Ashlyn did with Dave has been, I love that stuff. I'm a huge fan of Ashlyn Ivy. I play her on the radio a lot. There's something about her voice. And that latest record, Hearts for Breakfast, that she did like an EP. Oh man, it's a beautiful, beautiful EP. The production's beautiful. It's just great. So, I mean, there's just some really great bands around here. And then you go all the way back to where it started with like the Put Downs and the Molly McGuires and
Yeah.
Sharks from Space and the Amherst and
Are the put downs from here?
Yeah.
yeah, I mean they're from Beaumont. I think Tom is from Beaumont and
The other guys are from a little north. I think.
there's one. I think one or two of them were. Well, one of them was from Houston. I think the other two were from Beaumont. So.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, so those are like great local bands, and then of course you've got other bands. That
So
are,
do you when you say local, right? Because everything depends on how people want
True.
to believe like our demographics are. But would you say Houston is local too?
Yeah, for sure.
You'd
Yeah.
put that in there too. So like
yeah,
like Mighty Orc and some of those guys and stuff like that.
yeah. Mikey and the Drags is another
Yeah.
one. The Suffers. Who else is over there? I'm drawing a blank now. Yeah, I don't know. There's some really good.
And Lake Charles has got a
artists
great scene too. I mean, it's
yeah.
I mean,
There's
it's pretty
some great
cool.
artists
We live in
around
a pretty cool area.
I think so.
And then of course you know, and that's just like rock bands or kind of country or whatever. I mean, then you've got like some great. You know, I'm a huge hip hop fan.
Sure.
Love rap, hip hop. I mean, that's behind the blues is probably like my second favorite genre. Like,
I mean,
blues is like my all-time favorite.
There's quite a few local hip hop acts. That are still putting stuff out.
And they've got some great.
Yeah, but I don't know any of them.
I don't know,
Well,
man. I get messages from Southside Said like once a week.
Oh,
with
yeah?
new music videos and stuff.
Still got Tame the Aspiring Me. There is
It's like
Ill-Fated.
409 Chapter is
I know about
one that's
that,
been around
yeah,
for a while.
You've got
my
Fat
classmate.
Tony.
Yeah.
You know, there's definitely, you know, some great kind of up and coming. I saw this female artist, Genesis Blue, over at a Houston show at St. Arnold like 2 or 3 years ago. Man, she's awesome. Mm-hmm. And then of course you expand it out. There's like there's an artist out of New Orleans called 3D Nati. Man, I heard her. So I listen to Sway in the morning a lot on Sirius on satellite radio, and he does these like doomsday ciphers where he brings these people in and they basically they give them like 5 beats and they have to like freestyle over the
Yeah.
you know?
I know exactly. What
And
I
I love to catch the ciphers, and so she was on one of these ciphers one time, and man, she free flowed for like 8 minutes
Yeah.
and just killed it. I mean, just killed it. And she's from New Orleans, so you know, like I said, there's lots of cool.
Yeah.
Whether you like rap, punk, whatever. Just some really cool acts from around here.
Yeah.
So what do you looking towards the near future? What gets you excited about what's going on around here? Like you're the guy in the know, so you know more than us. Is there stuff that might be coming out that's flying under the radar, or maybe somebody or some band that hasn't really even taken off or hit the collective consciousness yet?
Man, there's so many, and I've tried and play them on the show as much as you know where I can. You know, obviously the bands that I've named already, but
I mean, we've honestly been compared to whenever y'all started, we've become kind of stagnant around here.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
We're in a lull, so I'm trying to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
yeah. So you know, just kind of like I think with any movement, whether it's a artistic movement or a creative movement or a musical movement or whatever, I think with any city, you just kind of have to. I think it does just ebb and flow, and you kind of
Yeah.
have to. You have to take the valleys with the peaks type of thing, and
For sure.
I think that kind of late 2008 through like 2014 time period was like a really big peak for us.
Yeah.
Now we're kind of in a lull. I mean, we really don't have any venues around town. We got a couple, you know, the Rose and
We don't have any,
Blog On
we
and
don't
stuff
have
like
any
that.
We don't have any true music venues.
But
Right.
We really don't. And of course, the only one that's got a pretty good sound system, I just don't like to go to. But
yeah, everybody hates the gig. So.
I don't like that place.
I mean, dude, that's that. I don't know if it's a crisis of management or anything, or if it's just it's been enough bad blood built over the years toward that place.
It's on
and,
Crockett Street,
and
so
it's also
there's-
on Crockett Street, and that's been kind
there's
of
a whole
shit show,
problem
so.
with that.
They
yeah.
tried.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and it's like, and I'm
more
not
power
saying
to
any of
them
this
for
is saying
trying.
that nobody's not trying, or that
Yeah.
nobody's not trying, and that you know, like the Log On and all these places aren't doing their best. But it's just, I've always said, and especially because I work in the industry, that like you need a stage, you need lights, you need the haze machines, you need a good sound system, and like all those things. Because the thing that makes people want to go to shows is that it's a show.
Yeah.
If they wanted to just listen to a music in a tin box, then you know it's like they
Just
can
go to
just,
open mic or something.
they can just play an MP3 player in their shed. You know, it's like
Exactly.
like you want to go for an experience, and there's not been an experience delivered lately, or
exactly.
it's like or nobody's able to do it in a way that you can go and you can pay $30 and go to Houston, go to White Oak,
Man,
and see that.
White Oak, Continental Club,
Yeah.
all those places, even Numbers still. I mean, like Warehouse Live downtown or whatever. Like that stuff is, they got some cool venues. And then, I mean, so Corval's.
Corval's is solid.
That's a fantastic
It's a
venue,
listening room,
But
though.
it's not like it's not the show like
No.
you're
Yeah,
talking about,
That's where you go to. That's where you can go to listen to music, but it's mostly singers, songwriters.
Exactly. There's a certain style that plays
Yeah.
there, and
Like
they
you can't
do have
talk.
Well,
You can't text on your phone.
they get like
Yeah.
shiny ribs.
Yeah.
There a lot. They
Yeah,
get,
I mean, they Hayes Carl,
Hayes
Shiny
Carl,
Ribs,
yeah,
like
yeah.
all those.
Uncle Lucius, man.
Yeah.
Uncle Lucius.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Love-
sure.
Rip.
That was the last show. Actually,
Rest in peace.
I caught. I know that was the last show I caught from them, and it was like their second or third to last show ever.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. Like when they record the live shows there, I mean, they're fantastic recordings.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've never heard of them. doing
Yeah,
that.
so Uncle Lucius, that show, I bought the flash drive. So I don't know if that was their setup or if it was Nani's setup, but so after the show, I went and I bought like a poster and stuff like that, and I had them sign it or whatever for the record room. But I also bought like a little flash drive of the whole concert, and man, it's fantastic. Sounds great. I've played
Yeah.
a few live tracks on the show before, and
That's good.
Really cool.
That's one thing that I would like to see, and I think would probably help a lot of artists around here is if they would try to do more recordings of live shows.
Yes.
Because if you can't get into the studio, like, dude, I've dabbled in doing that whenever I was doing sound, and you can get some pretty awesome like tracks from it. It's not going to be perfect. There's going to be some flubs. You might mess up a bit, but like it's more important that it's out there,
right.
Yeah.
than if it's perfect.
I
I think people worry too much about making this perfect record.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's basically like demo tracks too, off of everything you try that's new, and you're working stuff out.
Mm.
You know,
But
It's
I
got value.
love the live.
It would have value.
I love the rawness of like a live performance. And truth be told, the Shrimpy EP, which was our first record that Wrong Side did, we had talked to the Wolves early on, and the idea was that, hey, we'll do a live record for the first record, and we actually tried to record a show at Tequila Rock.
Yeah.
And it didn't really come out very good. Yeah,
it's hit or
so,
miss.
So we tried, and then they were like, well, we've got a couple of other tracks that we recorded at Sugar Hill, and of course, Baby J recorded 2 of the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Quite honestly, I'll say that the 2 tracks that Baby J recorded sound way better than the ones at Sugar Hill. On that record, anyway. That record. But we learned a lot about putting out records on that release. Mainly if you have 4 songs, 2 recorded at 2 different studios, you don't play them differently. You play the same studio on one side and the same studio on the other side.
Why? Is it the
Because
big sound difference? Yeah.
If you go back and you listen to Shrimpy, we have 1 track from each studio on each side. So it'd be like Sugar Hill and Baby J, and then on the back is Sugar Hill and Baby J. And they're different volumes, different sound quality.
Yeah.
And again, I really think that the tracks, and again, it could have been the way that we received the format.
Yeah, they might have give you a different file.
Exactly.
Or something like that.
But
that
on
was part of the
record-
learning process too.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to do some weird things putting out to vinyl, don't you?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
can't be above a certain amplitude.
Yeah.
Or it'll make the needle jump and stuff like that.
all that kind of stuff. And there's been a couple of times where we've had to, like, even when we did the Bearlands Cody Schaefer split, we tried a pressing plant here in Texas, because even with the record label, we try and keep everything local. I use Parker Printing for the covers, so all the covers have been them. And we try and do local artists for the artwork and stuff like that. So we try and keep it as local as possible. So we wanted to press the record locally, because we use United mainly. And we tried this company up in Dallas, and it was a disaster. They pressed the record with the labels on the wrong sides, and then it was like it was a clusterfuck trying to get them to like change it and make it right.
It's like, oh, it'll be fine.
Yeah, and then they were like, yeah, well, we'll give you a discount on because
On your
we didn't have
next
to ship
order.
them back.
Yeah.
And then all they did was like put the right label on top of the old label and then repress it. And so
Oh
some of the
my
labels were
God.
coming off, and
Yeah.
it just really sucked. And then they shipped it back, and so by the time we got it back, like, it had been shipped 4 times or whatever, and so like the
you're getting-
corners
you're
were
getting
starting to get
warping.
All at
yeah,
your cost too.
and they
Yeah.
were like, well, we'll give you a credit, and they never gave us a credit, so we never used them again. But going back to what you had asked about, was when they did the test press, the way that they had cut that record, the guy who cut it said, well, the back side of the album there was a big gap from the last song to the center label, and he was like, so I was trying to expand out the groove so that it could look more even, but when he did it, like, it completely ruined the pitch of the song, and so like the end of the song got kind of really slow, and then like there's like waves to it or whatever, and I was like, what? And like I sent them a picture, and they were like, oh, well, your turntable is not a very good turntable. I'm like, no. You didn't cut it right.
Yeah. It's
so
like, why aren't you playing it on a great turntable? It's like, what if our customer doesn't have a great turntable?
That was our point. So that's what I told him. I was like, yeah, the people that buy this record don't have $5,000 setups. Like, they have the little
like
suitcase Crosley from
the Crosley
Second
from Second Charles.
Yeah. And we want it to sound decent on that. And so anyway, they begrudgingly like recut it and all this other stuff.
Well, there was a lot of talk, and I remember reading about it because I follow some of the news of things like that, technology and mediums, and I remember back in like the White Stripes days, whenever Jack White was like, it was like there was a story that came out that like one of the last record plants in the country was shutting down, and then now I'm sure it's probably increased like 100-fold. People
they've
are
started opening back up
because it's probably profitable now. But then you get jokers like that.
It's gotten to the point where even Jason and I we've legitimately looked at
presses.
Presses, and you can get a pretty decent press for about $10,000. I mean, that's a lot of money, but
I
if
mean, as
you're
far as
willing to invest the infrastructure, it'd be kind of cool to.
How much could you put out with a $10,000 press?
I mean, it'd probably be slow, you know what I mean? And it'd probably be a lot of manual. And there's probably a lot of other things around that you have to do.
Well, you had to buy the acetate, and you had to buy
like all that stuff. So you'd have to have the lathe to cut the
trim
lacquers
the
and stuff like that.
outside.
Yeah, like everything. So, but it would be cool to. We've always said like, man, that would be awesome to have something like that, and then we could do like these like. Just really cool one-off
special edition.
Yeah,
like there's only 10 of them.
Yeah, like Flaming Lip style, where they put like Kesha's blood in that. They pressed a record and they had like Kesha's blood inside of it or whatever. Like, whatever, man, that would be awesome to do. We could put like Hooker's blood in like a record or something.
It better be a metal record.
That'd be awesome. Some of Silas's hair or something like that. And,
What kind of voodoo should we try to put in these records?
Just,
man?
just so
hoodoo.
cool,
It's
man.
hoodoo shit.
We're gonna get cursed.
A Dogfish Head Brewery did a record for Record Store Day with,
And
they put their beer inside of one of the
Really?
records. Yeah.
They also did a special for the anniversary of Miles Davis' Bitches Brew. They made a special.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think it was like the 60th anniversary, and they made a special beer for it. They had like a release party for all this stuff. Yeah.
You got to come up with things like, differentiate yourself. Jack White did the whole thing where the same record played 45, 72, and 33 on the same record.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the Blunderbuss, I think it was Blunderbuss record.
Weird.
And like one side was 45, one side was 33, but then if you played, he cut grooves into the label.
Oh,
and if you played the label, you played at
72.
Yeah.
There was, I don't know if it was that one, but there was another one where they had grooves that were hidden under the label.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to listen to it, you had to peel the label off.
No, this one you could put the
that's
needle
crazy.
right on top of the label and listen to it, but all 3 speeds on the same record. So it's just stuff like that,
Yeah.
You got to come up with something different.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that'd be a good idea to go. I mean, because it's really about building a thing. It's less about like quantity,
Yeah.
and putting out like as
Exactly.
many releases as possible. It's more about what's the funky
Right,
and y'all
right,
are
right.
doing the same kind of thing, even if you don't have your own press. But the backside with Cody Schaefer and Bearlands, that's a pretty funky, cool thing,
Exactly.
And it's like it's I'd like to see more.
Well, it's not,
Yeah, man. We would like to see more too. So.
Yeah.
I don't think we live in the same time anymore. It used to be if somebody even was a super famous, super popular artist, their album would sell out,
Yeah.
and it would be across every different. There would be an album, there'd be a cassette and all that.
It's memorabilia now.
But now it's
It is.
memorabilia. Now it's something kind of like hang on the wall, and you don't have people nowadays with like rack to the ceiling. You just have guys
Unless
like
you're
maybe
Graham King,
unless you're
so.
Graham, yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe the average person might have like 20 albums. So when they want to buy one, they want it to be special. They want it to be unique.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Stuff like
Like the
at the show.
Speed soundtrack.
Like this. Yes. Hey, there's something special about that. Gosh darn
It's
it.
a shame too, man, because records. I mean, I've got a few thousand at this point, but of course I got a head start because my
Yeah.
dad.
You said you have a few thousand.
Yeah,
But I would-
Oh well, you better. You're a record
Yeah,
label exec.
I would
You
not
better
say
have
you're
a bunch.
average.
No, but that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's not normal.
The average is like oh, I'm at this show and I'm having a good time. You know what? I'm going to buy this record. And then
Hell, I know that even Poole, he had a stack of records for a while, and he told me, he's like, man, I don't even have a turntable. I haven't even listened to them. He's got like 20 records. I'm like, you're in a band.
Yeah.
Like, get a turntable.
Just go get a turntable, man.
For sure.
Like,
The average person doesn't. But I think it's getting, it's coming back. Obviously, everybody's putting out records now.
Yeah.
But, that's another thing too. Like, speaking of like, mainstream artists, we've got some really cool current mainstream artists from the area. I heard you. So I listened to Chad's episode the other day, and he's working with Parquet Courts now.
Oh yeah, he was working with Parquet Courts. He went out with the Black Angels. He's kicking ass.
I love Black Angels too. That's another Austin band that I love, man. Yeah. They're really good. But I mean, so funny story about Parquet Courts is maybe about a year and a half ago, Vince.
McClellan, he's actually in Europe right now. His band.
I'm talking about Vince from the Wolves.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he had come over to the house, to my house, to grab a couple of things like some furniture that I was getting rid of, and he came to grab it. And when he drove up, he was like, "Dude," he was like, "You know that Drew used to live like in that house right there?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like, yeah. He was like, Drew grew up. He's like, I used to come play at that house when I was a kid. And he was like, and then Austin from the Parquet Courts. And I was like, yeah. He's like, he grew up in that house right there. And I was like, what? And so apparently he like grew up in the house that is across the street from me now. So anyway, but yeah. So Chad's out on the road with him, and I'm like, man, being a huge UGK fan, and being a huge Parquet Courts fan, I've always thought it'd be really cool if like somehow, some way, because I mean they're way out of our league. Don't get me wrong. I mean I know Parquet is like on Rough Trade, and UGK is UGK or Bun B anyway. Yeah. But it'd be so cool
to do like
set. Something like even if it was like a mixtape style, something like you sell at the back of the trunk type of thing. And I really think like if I ever had the opportunity to talk to like especially Bun, because like I know UGK's story of like the fact that they really wanted to own their own music and they really didn't want the label to dick around with them and all. I mean, you'd be
surprised, man. Reach out,
So like, I haven't reached out to Parquet yet, but I did. I talked to Chad in the past. It'd be kind of cool if we could get something hooked up there, but. So I have a friend locally, David Lang, whose brother is a rapper up in Dallas.
Yeah.
He goes by their group is OG Status is the name of their group, and they did a song called Pura Vida like late last year. And
where is it, Aaron?
They did it with Bun B. So he did a collaboration with Bun B and. Nice. That's awesome.
Shout out to Hannah for going to Costa Rica and bring us.
Yeah, so they went down to Costa Rica and recorded this video down there, and so this is the song, but he did it with Bun B. So anyway, and so the way I found this out was I was like scrolling through Instagram one day, and I saw David and his wife on this boat, and like behind it was Bun and his wife, and I was like. Do they know who they're on a boat with? And like I sent them a comment and I was like, dude, y'all know who that is behind you, huh? And David was like, yeah, that's a Bun B. And I was like, wait, hold on.
And you're okay with this? You're not freaking out?
I was like, how are you on this boat with him? So he told us like, yeah, my brother's a rapper. He did a song with Bun. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, you've known I've got this label and you haven't told me about your brother who's the rapper, first of all. And two, you're just like hanging out on a boat in Costa Rica with Bun and you're like, dude, hook me up.
He's on our we have like a list of people to talk to, and he's on our our wish list.
Yes. Oh yeah, on our we hope one day.
Yeah, because I mean, he was big on supporting the community, and he's big on supporting.
Still is really.
Yeah, it's just trying to get a hold of him.
Exactly, and I think that if we ever had the opportunity to talk to him, I think like he would really like what we're doing and the fact that we don't want to own music and we really were just promoting the artist.
You should do like an expats album next. So basically, take people who were from here and moved away. So you could get Parquet Courts, you could get Bun B, you could get Shiny Ribs.
It's a good idea.
And those guys, I mean, a lot of the people.
That's a good idea, actually.
I mean, dude, like a lot of the people,
because those guys still have love for this area.
A lot of our listeners. We've had a lot of people reach out to us who don't live here anymore, and they like listening to this show because it's a connection to home. And a lot of the people that grew up here and left, there's probably some people who don't have any love for this place, and that's why they left. But there's a lot of people who left who still love this area,
Yeah.
and there's a reason.
That's actually
for
a
that.
great idea.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those guys come back
Because there's
here
a lot of
all the time.
expats. You have a lot to choose
Very
from.
true. Very true. No, that would be really, really cool. Yeah. So anyway, just ideas,
Yeah.
like we, and I know. So little secret, I guess. David has since he sent me Bun's cell phone one day in a text, and I just looked at it for like a few minutes, and I was like, I'm probably never gonna use this number. Like I've got it, but like it's one of those things. Like I
What kind of asshole am I?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
rather
like, I
get an
don't-
email.
Yeah.
I never feel guilty about sending an email.
Yeah,
but
never.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
email's different.
Yeah.
But so I told Jason, and Jason was like, dude, he was like, we have got to get all of our shit together before we ever even think about using that
Right.
number.
Absolutely,
I was like,
yeah.
no doubt. No
Yeah.
doubt. So yeah, I've like tucked it away and
Yeah,
you know,
but I mean, he's
probably
not
changed it by
Mike
now.
Jones,
Exactly,
man. You know,
right.
he wasn't just giving his number out on
That's
every
right.
every set.
And that's
you
the
know?
other thing too. I was like, man, I don't want to just like show up and be like, did he like get mad at David for like giving it away or something? I
Yeah.
don't know, So, but
Well, okay, so like I've gotten we've had the ability to like contact some people who are
Yeah.
a little above our league, and it's like every time I go to do it, I'd be like, who the fuck are we to do something like that? But then there's a part of me that's changed where I'm like, nah, we're just gonna
fucking
we're
do
just gonna
it.
see what happens.
Yeah.
What's the worst
Yeah,
that could happen? You know, he hangs up on you.
I think we're starting to think that way too. Is like,
Yeah.
I guess that's getting our grind on or whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah, I mean,
just trying to
kinda.
be like more.
You won't. It doesn't. It never hurts to ask. You know,
Yeah.
And
you know,
people,
you never know
people
what's
in that
gonna happen.
space too. People in that like kind of like that middle upper tier. Those people in space, they get bombarded all the time, like every day.
Yeah.
It's not like it's really a big deal. You know what I mean? So if you
Yeah.
bug them for a minute, as long as you're polite and as long as
Yeah.
you don't overstep your bounds anyway, I don't think it's a bad. It's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
They're used to it. Like they do it all the time, and
They're probably used to
it,
getting
yeah.
people coming in like
True.
with
Yeah.
expectations,
Right? Exactly.
And like come at them like assholes.
So
you
as
know?
long
That's
as
true.
as
We
long
have
as you don't like
zero
yeah.
expectations.
As long as you're not like finding anybody while they're like in the grocery store with their kids and walk, hey, you'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like,
I did meet Bun at St. Arnold in Houston.
yeah, he's got his own beer coming out now.
Yeah, well,
I don't know
he
that.
did a show. They did like an anniversary show.
He's been going around HEBs like with his beer. Like I don't know.
It's a Carbach beer though. I think.
Is it Carbach?
I think it's Carbach.
I don't know who bottled
it up.
or I don't know who bottled it, but
I can't remember what it's called.
I
but,
thought it was like 11 Below or some other smaller
or maybe
one.
it's Eighth Wonder. I think it's
Wonder.
Eighth Wonder.
Yeah,
Brew
that sounds-
GK,
Yeah.
Eighth Wonder, yeah,
Yeah, it's
Wonder.
Eighth Wonder.
Yeah.
Brew GK,
so-
Candy Apple Ale.
Because I live, or because
It's
I
an
work.
ale brewed with apple juice. I'm not good on that. Sorry, Bun.
Hey, man,
I
that's-
love you, Bud.
dude.
but
That's
nah.
that sounds like he's holding it down for the hood, though, man. I like that.
Well,
Maybe.
because I work in Port Arthur, I used to
Yeah.
drive. So like he came out with like this rap coloring book years
Okay.
ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I bought a couple of copies. One, because I wanted to like keep it,
Yeah.
and two, because my daughter was young at the
Yeah.
time, and I was like, oh, you can play with it or whatever, because I wanted to teach her about good music too. Even though she probably doesn't need to listen to like UGK
Probably
right now
not, yeah.
at 9. But anyway, so I used to carry it in the back of my car, like just in case,
you
I
run
ever
into him.
ran into him for some reason.
him to
you
sign
know,
it,
get him
yeah.
to sign it.
Yeah.
And then I bought like a record store day edition of International Players Anthem that came out a couple of years ago, and it was like a Shape of Texas vinyl
Oh wow.
with that song on it.
Can't
And-
play it, can you?
What? No,
Just the
it's-
center part?
I played it once, and you can play it. It's just a single though. It's
The grooves are like this fat.
The Texas, the like El
Yeah.
Paso and everything's the outside of the record.
yeah, it's the whole state of Texas, and it's like red, white, and blue. Like
That's
excuse me,
dope.
it looks like a Texas flag.
Yeah.
And so I used to keep that in the car from time to time, like if I knew it wasn't going to get warped, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So then we go to St. Arnold to this show, and I'm like, man, there's no way I'm ever going to meet him, so I'm not even going to bring it. I don't want to have it in the car. So then we get to the show,
Oh,
and they're
that's
like,
dope.
oh, you can stand in line and get an autograph and meet Bun, but you have to buy some of his merch. I was like, and there's a damn record that I already had. So I went ahead and bought another copy, and went in and got it signed. So at least I got that record signed, and I got to meet him, but it was like, in and out, in and out, in
Yeah,
and
it's
out. So
not-
it wasn't really an opportunity to like talk to him.
Right,
and stuff,
right.
But,
What do you think? We're talking about all these things, talking about this area, and what do you think it is that makes why are we so damn passionate about this area? Whatever we are, we openly admit that it's not that great and that it's kind of on a lull, and there's all these problems, but like we still want to just pimp this area out.
I have a
somewhat.
theory, and my theory is that it's a little bit of a like little sibling syndrome type of thing, where my theory is that Austin gets all the love, Houston gets all the love, New Orleans gets all the love, Beaumont, Mid County, Southeast Texas, whatever. We kind of feel like we get forgotten a lot, and which is why we have all these great bands. They leave, they go to Houston. I mean, the Wolves, they went to Houston. These bands, they go to Austin. I mean, you have to. It's almost like you have to leave in order to get noticed or to do anything in the business. And so it kind of sucks in that regard, but I understand it too from an artist perspective, So I mean, I think that's kind of what it is. Is like we just get overlooked a lot, and so the people that are still here, like us, we really want to just continue to try and like pimp it out, like you said. Like, hey.
we grew up in that, in like the shadow of that too. Like growing up, all the famous people from this area, they're only famous because they're from here, but it's not because they stayed. Like ZZ Top, you know what I mean? Like Janis Joplin, the Winter Brothers.
Oh my God, yeah.
She came back and it killed her.
Yeah.
God damn.
I mean, really.
Yeah,
like, I mean, she came back for that reunion, and then a month later she OD'd.
Yeah. I mean, everybody. I mean, Big Bopper, like for real. Like it's it goes all the way back.
George Jones.
George Jones. Yeah.
I mean, we got so much history here, and they all started here, but then they left. And it's like, and I think, and some of them came back, and some of them still care for the community, but it's just, I've always thought that there's something in the water, and it does a disservice to what makes people become that way, and what is it that I want to try to find that out. Like, why do so many talented people come from here?
Yeah.
Not even so much that they leave. It makes sense if they leave. If you start selling a bunch of records, and then you're gonna have to relocate somewhere with a better business model. But it's like what is it? What is it that makes it in the first place? I guess that's maybe that's what we're trying to.
It's crazy. I
dig
don't
into.
know. And so I mean, you've got this whole huge plethora of like people who have made it famous, and then you've got this whole huge plethora of people that are just as talented. Yeah, just didn't know the right people or haven't known the right people yet. To get out there.
Or shit, they had a day job and they couldn't leave it.
That kind of stuff. You never know. I mean, I think we're just saturated in this area with some phenomenal talent. Yeah. And so Jason and I, we're trying to do our little part, to get people to hear it.
Well, at the very least, it's not even just get people to hear it, but maybe give people who are doing the same thing, show them that there's something they can strive for. That even if they might not become famous or anything, they can get a record made.
Yeah,
for sure.
If they try hard enough.
And that's the other thing too that I think is cool about the local scene is that or
you get on the radio.
Yeah, the idea behind that is it's almost like a time capsule of like this great music in the area, right? And hopefully these files from these shows will live on. And you never know, maybe some kid 30 years from now or 40 years from now or 50 years from now will hear an episode, whether it's Beth or me, and say, oh man, they had some really cool music back then, and maybe they'll be like me and go find an old Johnny Jono record, on Discogs and from 40 years ago. Yeah. It's that kind of stuff.
I would like to see people visiting here.
Yeah, exactly. And
I want to go check out Beaumont. Because apparently they got something going on there. You
got the Museum of the Gulf Coast now. I heard that episode with the curator. I mean, there's so many cool stuff over there. I mean, there's some really cool stuff in the area. We just need to get people to come back. And, I think and build it up.
Maybe we're trying to get the people around us as excited about everything as we are.
I think so.
I think that.
I think
I'm jazzed.
I think we see.
I think all three of us are.
Yeah. I think we see what other people don't. Yeah. We were talking about like people with day jobs and things like that, and even though like Christopher has a day job. Obviously, it doesn't perturb. But we're bums, dude. Like, we hang out, we go out, we see the things, and a lot of people just kind of like, to work, to home, Netflix, and, Hulu, and they really don't know about all the fun stuff that's going on. And there is a lot of fun stuff going on. You know what I mean? It's strange. I guess it's like getting out of your bubble. You know what I mean? And we just want everybody to know. And I think you do too.
You can spend all day complaining about this area, but if you don't go out and do anything,
that's the thing, man.
Of course it's gonna be a drag.
And I know that, like, I think part of some of the slack she used to get too was like, I think she started that Believers tag or whatever. People used to like hate on that, but it's like
I hated on it. I thought that was ridiculous.
I hated on it too because it was a little try hardy.
It was.
I mean, like Beaumonsters is better. I like Beaumonsters.
Beaumonsters.
Our hashtag is make Beaumont wild again.
Yeah, that's what it is.
We need to get them hats made.
But like
I still
that,
got
but
mine.
but the idea behind that, at least, though, was like, that it's that kind of like don't shit on Beaumont if
Yeah.
you don't go out to shows and support.
For sure.
For sure. And that's what I think that was kind of maybe the theme behind it, was where it kind of started and originated, was like, hey, you're over here complaining about nobody. There's nobody to, not a show to go to or whatever. But like, when's the last time you went to a show? When's the last time you went to a bar, like, and bought something that helped the bar stay open so that they could have bands come in?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, one of your buddies runs a food truck or something, and you don't buy anything from him, and you complain about the place that he works in. Like, come on, like,
yeah. If you
the,
don't go
the worst are the people who move to Austin and they get in those comment threads saying, "I'm glad I'll never go back to Beaumont." It's like, come on, dude. Like, where's the positivity?
yeah.
Well, that's another thing too. That's an unhealthy comparison. So it's like, obviously there's going to be a lot more to do in Austin. There's going to be a lot more to do in Houston. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But,
hustle and hustle and hustle so you can pay rent.
But
Yeah,
there's always going to be more to do if people
absolutely.
keep leaving to go there and do
Yeah.
it. Like, if they stay here
Yeah.
and do it, eventually we can have plenty of stuff
well,
to do.
get on it, rich people. Make some venues. Rich listeners. You got some money, come at us.
Yeah.
We got ideas. You bring your money, we'll give you ideas.
If y'all don't do it, I'm going to do it in 10 years.
Yeah, we'll give you a really good ROI, I promise.
So that's what we're trying to do, man. Just trying to parlay things into other things.
And like while the music around here has been kind of in a slump, we're obviously growing because we have so many more bars coming around.
Yeah.
We got 2 breweries opening
Yeah.
in Beaumont in the next year or two. Like,
I think we might be
we're kind of aiming towards something.
I think
have
we-
potential.
We might be coming out of our lull now. I want to see some new bands, and that's like before we actually started recording and we were talking. I was like, man, I want to see some new bands. A lot of, I want to see like a passing of the torch almost. You know what I mean? Like that time we were talking about, that 2008 to 2014. That was great, man, and I love seeing all those guys play again. But I really want to see some of these young guns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really do. I want to see that time happen again, but I don't want to see it happen exactly the same way. I want like the next generation. I want them to have that. You know what I mean? And I'm waiting for it.
yeah, I want a new crop of
I know it's
artists.
going to come. Yeah, I know it's going to come. I'm just
Yeah.
waiting for it.
Yeah.
It'll come eventually. But yeah, definitely want it to come for sure.
I think we just got to keep doing what we're doing and just
Get on it, talented
be
people.
patient.
Yeah, exactly. We just keep trying.
Well,
man.
so that maybe that'll be the bow we put on it, is that we are here waiting for you guys.
We are,
Yeah.
and we're here to support
We're
you
here
too.
to support, and we want to talk to you. We want to hear from you. We
Yeah.
want to support you, but you got to get it done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I know we talked about this a while ago, but it's amazing to me that, like even with the show, you send like bands emails, or you have Olivia or Chantel, like when they book shows, you tell them like, hey, tell the bands to send an email or a track over. Nobody emails anything, like, and it's like, you're coming to town, and I'm telling you, like, I can probably put you on the radio.
Well, what's your email?
Nothing. WSOTrecords@gmail.com.
Send your fucking tracks.
Right?
Wrong side of Texas.
It's crazy.
WSOT.
WSOT@gmail.com. Send your tracks if you are a local band.
WSOT Records.
Yeah.
You got any Snorlax tracks?
I've played Snorlax on the show a few
Good.
times. Yeah,
I was
I heard that
gonna
episode the other day.
Yeah, okay, very
That's-
good.
That's one of my
Been
favorites.
busy listening.
Yeah. That's a great another great band. I mean, Hitchhiker, Snorlax, We Are Wombat. I mean, we've had some really great. So We Are Wombat. We actually talked to them years ago before they kind of like broke up.
They kind of came
went
together
away.
and broke up.
Yeah.
Came together, broke up
Yeah.
a couple of times. Huh?
Well, I remember when we talked to them, because we were going to do a record, and they were like, "Yeah, we're all in," and we went. And I remember we met them up at Luke's to have the business meeting, right? And
do they have to pay anything whenever you do a record, or
No.
is it just you
And
just
that's the other thing. Like,
you should just sign this piece of
yeah.
paper and it's going to happen?
And you do
It
up
doesn't
front,
cost
yeah.
the band anything other than what it like, especially if you already have
It's got to be so frustrating.
especially if you already have songs recorded.
Yeah.
Like if you have good songs that are recorded that we can use to press, it literally costs you nothing to
Yeah.
get
Yes.
your music on a record. Now, of course, we
you have some. You're going to be choosy.
yeah,
About,
I mean,
you know.
we're not going to just press everybody.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
we want to, at the end of the day, we are putting money into it. We'd like to
Right.
at
You're
least
building a
break
catalog.
even.
Well, you're
Yeah.
the ones assuming the risk, and it's
We
not the
are,
band at
yeah.
all. And
That's right.
That's what's the great thing is I would imagine bands would jump on it. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, no risk. Oh, okay,
Exactly.
All right, great.
And it's crazy. We don't get it. But they were all in, and then like we waited for them to send music, and I kept sending emails like, "Hey, you gonna send us tracks?" And then finally we get it's like, "Hey, yeah, we're not really playing as a band anymore." And I'm like, oh, dang. And like Jason had this awesome idea to do So like we were gonna do a total ripoff of the Clash Combat Rock, and have it Wombat Rock. And we were just like gonna do like a whole cover with like in front of the train track and everything, and none of it came to fruition. So now they're back. So I don't know. You never know. We'll see.
Awesome.
But
well, man, you know what? I appreciate what you do because I mean, in the end, you press these records and you give them to the band, you give them to the artist, and they're able to have something really special and extra at the merch table. You know. And all the local vinyls I've got them at shows. I didn't get them at a record store because they don't exist. And while we're ending it up, I just want to say thanks, man. That's a really cool thing that you do, and they can do it on their own. You know what I mean?
And also you've carried the torch that Beth lit with the local scene thing, and it made me really happy to know that somebody was going to take that over, especially somebody that's doing what you're doing.
Me too, man. I was really excited about it. I was very thankful to Byron and those folks up at KVLU to let me do that. And it's awesome. And it's requited because thank you for doing this, because it's just yet another avenue to get people like myself to come in and talk about it, or other people to talk about it, or Snorlax or Silas or Wes or whoever to come in and talk about their music. And it's really cool. It's definitely really cool.
We're doing Team Bo Monsters here, man.
Synergy. It's synergy.
That's right.
Yeah.
No,
right,
very
man.
cool.
All right, bud. Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
For
awesome.
sure. All right, thank you guys for listening.
Bye. Thanks, Chris. Be sure to check out Wrong Side social media accounts and website, and listen to the local scene on KVLU 91.3 FM Saturdays at 6.
Special shout-outs to our patrons over at Patreon. We have Jordan Stringer, Lance Killian, Brian Castino, Doug Waldrip,
Michael
Sarr,
Ben McClellan.
Thanks, bud. You're really helping me out. I like that. And Randy Edwards. If you're interested in becoming a patron and help us do what we do, head over to patreon.com/A to Z BMT, where you can make a one-time or a monthly donation. And dude, it would really help us keep these lights on.
Even $1, man.
You know what I mean? We don't care. We'd probably rather you give $1 than a bunch, because we feel guilty.
We're guilty about it. Next episode is going to feature Evan and Paul of the Gulf Coast Spirit Society. They came back through and they talked some scotch with us. We drank some scotch and told stories.
Last one was like American bourbon. So because we was like, it's all whiskey, right?
Yeah.
This time it's scotch. These are the episodes we actually have quite a bit of fun on, because we get a little drunk. So we get a little sloppy, we get a little drunk. So if you want to see that sinking ship, check it out.
Hell yeah.
Also, if you have a special guest in mind that you think would be a fit for our show, it could be anyone. Maybe someone with a lot of stories. Maybe somebody that has a really interesting occupation. Doesn't matter. You can have them email us at feedback@A2Zpodcast.com. Man, you're just finishing all my sentences today.
That's what we do, man. A to Z, I fill in the blanks.
All right, guys. We'll see us next time.